Hi everyone, welcome back to the session. We are going to continue reading the poem What It's Like to Be Transgender by Lee McCobb. In part 1, we learned the biography of the poet and we also started reading the poem. We saw that the poet is praying in the cathedral. He's asking the God to fix him, but he doesn't get any answer, so he decides to befriend silence. Later, his mother says he's a miracle and he could choose to be either a boy or a girl. He chooses to be a boy. By the age of 12, people started asking him why he is behaving in the way a boy behaves, and they are asking him to dress up like a girl and to behave like a girl. But the poet says he's different and he considers his body as a house, and he says no one will leave the house if it is falling apart. They try to make it comfortable enough so that they could bring in the guests. Same way Lee McCobb compares his body to a house, and he doesn't want to leave his house, or he doesn't feel shy to say that his house is different from others or his body is different from others, and he is accepting his body. So that's where we stopped, and let's continue reading now. Let's continue reading. My mother fears I have named myself after fading things. As she counts the echoes left behind by Mia Hall, Leela Alcorn, Blake Brockington, she fears that I'll die without a whisper, that I'll turn into what a shame conversations at the bus stop. So he continues to say that his mother, when he grew up, had this fear that he will also become the part of the fading things. Fading things means the things that is forgotten. What she really means is that she counts the echoes left behind Mia Hall, Leela Alcorn, and Blake Brockington. Let's see who are they. Now, this is Mia Hall, a 27-year-old transgender woman who was shot dead by police in Baltimore, USA on 30th March 2015 for taking a wrong turn on the road. The police version claimed that she had a history of robbery and prostitution, but the transgender community describes the incident as an example of transphobia. Transphobia is a dislike towards a transgender. So she's a transgender woman who was killed by the police. So her mother, poet's mother says that he might become one of these kind of people who are considered as fading things because they will die. They are killed by the police. Maya Hall was killed by the police. Now, next person, Leela Alcorn, an American transgender girl who committed suicide at the age of 17 to stop discrimination and abuse after being struck by a semi-trailer, Ohio, USA. In her suicide note, she cited loneliness and alienation along with parental neglect as the key reason to end her life. Another transgender girl who committed suicide. And then last one is Blake Brockington here, an American transgender man who committed suicide after being struck by several vehicles. Before turning 19 he died, and he was the first person, a transgender, who came out saying that he's a transgender in the high school itself. Okay, so his mother, a poet's mother, says that he might also, that is Lee McCobb, might also pass away or die or commit himself suicide like these transgenders. She fears that he will become Lee McCobb will become just like a whisper or a conversation at bus stop, that people standing at bus stop just discussing the news. What a shame, they might say about the uh, incident. So his mother fears that he might also become like one of these fading things. She claims, I have turned myself into mausoleum, that I am a walking casket. News headlines have turned my identity into a spectacle. So she says, the mother says, I have turned myself into mausoleum. Mausoleum means an magnificent tomb. So here the mother is comparing himself to tomb. And the next line, that I am a walking casket. Casket is a coffin where the dead bodies are kept. News headlines have turned my identity into spectacle. People are just looking at me with the news items that arrives. Okay, so all this shows that his mother is having her fear that the her child might just become a news headline and people will forget, and he might sometimes commit himself suicide. All these fears she had. So let's continue reading. Bruce Jenner on everyone's lips, while the brutality of living in this body becomes an asterisk at the bottom of equality pages. So who is Bruce Jenner? Bruce Jenner, he was an American television personality and Olympic gold medal winner athlete in decathlon in the 1976 Montreal Olympic. In 2015, Jenner came out as a trans woman and took the name Caitlyn Mary Jenner and completed the sex reassignment surgery in 2017. So these two are the same person. He underwent the surgery and became a trans woman. So his mother says that while a few people like Bruce Jenner are highlighted or seen in the newspaper, while others have to undergo the brutality of living in this body, it becomes an asterisk at the bottom of equality pages. Equality pages means the pages of the newspaper and magazine which often discusses gender and sexuality or sexual equality and all. While this transgender people just becomes like an asterisk, the mark, the star mark at the bottom of the pages. This is the asterisk which is typically given down at the bottom of the pages. Sometimes it is for omitted matters, for the omitted matters. So like the omitted matters being mentioned, that asterisk, this transgender's equality is also omitted, it seems. Now let's continue reading. No one ever thinks of us as human because we are more ghost than flesh. So what the poet says here is that so no one ever thinks them as human, as a living creature. What they consider these transgender people are, they are just like ghost, it seems. Ghost than flesh. Ghost here means ghost cannot be seen. They're just out, they're not included into the living world. So same way these transgender people are also considered as someone like ghost or ghost kind of uh, being is only given. So they are just kept aside and they are not considered even as humans because people fear that my gender expression is a trick. So he says, the poet says, some people think that my gender expression, that saying that he is a boy is a trick because he has the body or biological body looks like a female while the feelings he has is like a kind of boy. And when he says he's a boy, the others might feel it is a trick, that it exists to be perverse. Perverse means it's an unacceptable way. Perverse, unacceptable way is being a transgender or bisexual or lesbian, anything which is against the norms of the society. So that exists to be perverse. That it ensnares them without their consent. So that is ensnaring them. Ensnaring means to trap them without their consent. So they are that these are only tricks. The transgender peoples are only considered as people those who are showing tricks and making the others think that in a false way. So let's continue reading. That my body is a feast for their eyes and hands, and once they have fed of my cure, they will regurgitate all the parts they did not like. So he says his body is like a feast. Feast means here means that people are trying to um, take a visual or a sensory pleasure. They are taking control of this transgender people's body with their eyes and their hands. They look at them very strangely. They try to find out who they are actually, man or woman. So once they have fed off their cure is an umbrella term which include lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender, etc. So once they means the people, the society, once they have fed off the cureness of the person, once they have learned about the transgender person, they will regurgitate. Regurgitate means vomit all the parts they do not like. All the parts they do not like means they say all the ills. They start insulting this transgender person. Okay, since they do not like the person, they will insult him, saying this and that. They try to shame them. Okay, so we'll stop here for today, and we have two more stanzas to be done. We'll continue in the next section. Thank you, children.